You open your eyes for the very first time and here we are. You've just been born a reindeer on Drum Island. Congratulations! Several adult reindeer dressed in thick winter coats check your vital signs in the freezing air as they decide your fate. Yep, he's got a blue nose, says the doctor. Maybe he's just a regular reindeer with medical knowledge. Who knows? You're a baby, it's hard for you to tell. Your parents, who are also still covered in snow, don't breathe a sigh of relief. You see, reindeer have a strong policy about genetic anomalies, which means that only normal-looking children are allowed to stay with the herd. The rest, well, don't worry about the rest. This means you get to travel at the back of the migration permanently, but reindeer babies don't really get to snuggle with their mothers anyway. Instead, they place you at the rear of the herd, where every step through the snow reminds you that you're different. Your cries echo across the frozen landscape as you try to keep up with the group, but no one comes to help you. On Drum Island, genetic deviation is never rewarded, even as a baby. Now that you made it to 6 years old, you're already showing signs of desperation within you. The average reindeer can forage successfully alongside their family, but as a blue-nosed outcast, you're not quite there yet. Your meals are really just whatever scraps you can find in isolation, and you're doing pretty terribly with them. You've also started showing signs of extreme hunger, which means your devil fruit consumption begins immediately. Your foraging takes you farther from the herd each day, searching for food in places that others won't venture. They watch your progress like indifferent observers, carefully measuring each failure to confirm you don't belong. They don't help you when you stumble through deep snow. Instead, they watch from a distance with their backs turned as you struggle to find your next meal. A true reindeer finds food with the group, always. Thanks, genetics. During one particularly desperate search, you discover a strange fruit unlike anything in the forest. Your isolation has made you reckless with hunger, and you devour the Hito Hito no Mi without hesitation. The transformation is immediate and horrifying. Human intelligence floods your brain while your body gains the ability to shift between forms that shouldn't exist. Everyone in your species now sees you as an abomination. Your newfound intelligence lets you understand their words of disgust perfectly. Your speech terrifies them. Your transformations make them flee in panic. You're no longer just the outcast with the blue nose. You're the monster who violated the natural order. At 7 years old, the accumulation of everything you've ever endured arrives. Complete rejection by two worlds. Without exaggeration, it's the biggest crisis of your young life. This isn't ceremonial shunning or symbolic exile. It's brutal survival where both animals and humans want you dead, and anyone who harbors you becomes a target. Failing here doesn't just mean loneliness. It means freezing to death alone in the snow. This is your last chance to find anywhere you might belong before winter kills you. You approach a human village in your hybrid form, hope burning in your chest despite everything you've experienced. The fur covering your body is matted with snow and blood from your journey. Your antlers catch the light as you emerge from the tree line, and the first human who spots you doesn't hesitate. Abominable snowman! The scream pierces the air as hunting rifles are raised. Bullets tear through the snow around your feet as you desperately try to explain that you're not dangerous, that you just want somewhere warm to sleep. But they can't hear your words over their terror. Your human intelligence means nothing when your appearance triggers pure primal fear.
人、生き音が危ないぞ。子供たちは早く家の中へ。銃だ。銃を持ってこい。撃ち殺せ。
You collapse in a snowbank, bullet wounds bleeding into the white powder, convinced this is where your miserable existence ends. The cold seeps into your bones as darkness creeps into your vision. Then footsteps approach, and you prepare for the final shot that'll end your suffering. Instead, Dr. Hiraluk kneels beside you with medical supplies and eyes that see past your monstrous appearance to the dying child beneath. In the most profound act of trust you'll ever witness, this stranger strips naked in the freezing snow to prove he's not carrying weapons, that he means no harm to the creature everyone else wants to destroy. What you don't understand yet is that this man is dying of an incurable disease, and saving you will become his final act of defiance against a world that kills the innocent. Hiraluk takes you to his cabin, treats your wounds with steady hands, and does something no living being has ever done. He gives you a name, Tony Chopper. Not monster or freak or blue nose, a real name that makes you feel like a real person for the first time in your life.
俺、なんでチョッパー？
おめえはトニーチョッパーだ。トナカイで木でも切り倒せそうな立派な角を持っているからな。いい名前だろ。俺はおめえをそう呼ぶぜ。
チョッパー。
He places his pink hat on your head, a tangible symbol that you belong to someone, that you have a family. For exactly 1 year, you experience what love feels like. He teaches you about medicine, about the Jolly Roger being a symbol of hope rather than death, about there being no incurable diseases in the world, if you just believe hard enough. But Hiruluck isn't lying about the last part, because he's actively dying and you're too naive to recognize the symptoms. At 8 years old, you notice your adoptive father growing weaker. His coughs become more violent, lasting longer each time. He stares out the window with the look of someone saying goodbye to a world he's about to leave. When you ask what's wrong, he smiles and changes the subject, but you can see death creeping into his eyes. Late at night, you sneak into his medical books, your new human intelligence allowing you to read the words, but not understand their true meaning. Then you find salvation, the Amadake mushroom, marked with a skull and crossbones symbol. But here's where your tragic education betrays you. Hiruluck taught you that the skull and crossbones represents the Jolly Roger, a symbol of conviction, hope, and the freedom to pursue impossible dreams. When you see that symbol next to the Amadake entry, your young mind interprets it as the ultimate medicine, the miracle cure that'll save your dying father. You brave a treacherous journey to the mushroom's location, determination driving you through blizzards and avalanches. When the leader of your former reindeer herd tries to stop you, seeing your quest as another sign of your unnatural wrongness, you fight him with everything you have. The battle is vicious and desperate. Your left antler snaps under his assault, the break so severe it'll require a metal brace for the rest of your life. But you endure the pain and claim your prize, returning home with the Amadake, clutched in your hooves like a holy relic. You spend hours preparing the perfect soup, adding herbs and seasonings to mask what you think is just a bitter taste. Your hands shake with excitement as you present the steaming bowl to Hiruluck, proud of your first real contribution to medicine. Hiruluck takes one look at the soup and immediately understands what you've done. The Amadake is a deadly poison, and his beloved son has just served him death with the purest of intentions. But instead of explaining your mistake, instead of letting you know that love requires knowledge to avoid becoming destruction, he smiles through tears and drinks every last drop. You watch in growing confusion as Hiruluck thanks you for the medicine, his eyes filled with both love and heartbreak. He doesn't show any immediate signs of illness, leaving you hopeful that you finally helped him. You don't realize what you've done. You don't understand that your ignorance has become a weapon. With your own desperate love, your own hand, you've given poison to the person who saved your life. Days later, when Wapple's army threatens the island, Hiruluck makes his final choice, knowing the poison will kill him anyway. He goes to confront the tyrant at his castle. In his last act of defiance, he detonates explosives he's strapped to his body, declaring that people only truly die when they're forgotten. The lesson burns into your soul with surgical precision. In medicine, good intentions are meaningless without knowledge. Pure love can become pure poison when wielded by the untrained.
よう、人はいつ死ぬと思う？心臓をピストルで撃ち抜かれた時？違う。不治の病に侵された時？違う。猛毒キノコのスープを飲んだ時？違う。人に忘れられた時さ。
This is your first and most brutal education in the weight that doctors carry. Dr. Kureha takes you in after the funeral, beginning 6 years of brutal medical training designed to ensure you'll never kill through ignorance again. She doesn't coddle your trauma or pretend the past didn't happen. Every day becomes a grueling lesson in anatomy, pharmacology, surgery, and the harsh reality that doctors hold life and death in their decisions. But here's what makes your training unique. You begin developing the rumble ball during this period, a yellow drug that temporarily distorts your devil fruit's transformation wavelengths. This pharmaceutical innovation allows you to access 4 additional forms beyond your natural 3, But each pill is essentially an experimental toxin you test on your own body. Think about the psychology required here. You're so desperate to be useful, to prove you deserve the medical knowledge being forced into your brain, that you regularly inject yourself with untested chemicals that could stop your heart. Every transformation becomes a calculated risk with your own life. The Rumble Ball grants you jump point for enhanced mobility, arm point for devastating physical attacks, guard point for impenetrable defense, and horn point for drilling through obstacles. But consume a second ball within 6 hours and you lose control of your transformations entirely. A third ball triggers Monster Point, a giant unconscious berserker form that turns you into the literal monster everyone always said you were. You're weaponizing your own body through pharmaceutical manipulation, turning yourself into a walking chemical experiment because being useful matters more than being safe. At 15, everything changes when the Straw Hat Pirates crash land on Drum Island. Their captain, Monkey D. Luffy, takes one look at your monstrous hybrid form and says the words that will reshape your understanding of belonging. You're interesting. Join my crew. Not you're useful, or we need a doctor, just you're interesting. Like being different is something to celebrate rather than hide. For the first time in your life, someone wants you not despite what you are, but because of what you are.
2本足で歩いて
トナカイで
モコモコで
チビで
でかくなって
バケモンで
いいやつだ面白いサジあいつ仲間にしよう
But joining them means leaving the only stable home you've ever known, and trusting that these humans won't abandon you once they realize how much trouble a monster brings. Your first task as a doctor is treating Nami's life-threatening illness. No pressure, but if you fail, you'll lose the first group of people who ever wanted you around. Your medical responsibilities become the thin line between your new family living and dying every single day of their increasingly dangerous journey. Your fighting style evolves as you master the balance between healer and warrior. Before the time skip, you rely on strategic Rumble Ball usage to access 7 different transformation points, each specialized for different combat scenarios. You're simultaneously the crew's emergency medic and their pharmaceutical berserker, switching between saving lives and risking your own. After 2 years of training in the Torino Kingdom, with giant birds and advanced medical techniques, you return with mastery over your devil fruit. You can now access most forms without the Rumble Ball, and have gained control over Monster Point, though it still drains your life force completely. The cruel irony is perfect. Your most powerful form literally makes you the monster everyone always said you were, but you use it exclusively to protect the people who chose to love you despite your appearance. You become the thing children have nightmares about in order to keep your family safe. Your medical achievements grow exponentially with each island. At Thriller Bark, you face Dr. Hogback, whose science reanimates corpses without consent, everything you refuse to become. On Zoe, you synthesize a cure for Caesar Clown's Koro poison gas under extreme pressure, saving the entire mink tribe from extinction. During the Wano raid, you achieve your greatest medical triumph by curing both the mummy virus and the Ice Oni plague while infected yourself. You develop counter-viruses in active combat conditions, then devise a way to disperse them via cannon to cure thousands of allies and enemies simultaneously. But here's what the world sees when they look at your accomplishments: a pet. Your bounty remains at 1,000 berries because the world government refuses to acknowledge that their cute mascot classification is catastrophically wrong. This systematic dehumanization strips away your agency and reduces your world-class achievements to adorable animal tricks. You've defeated CP9 agents in Monster Point. You've countered biological weapons that could wipe out entire populations. You've saved nations from plague, and your official threat level is less than the cost of a decent meal. Your ultimate dream is to become a doctor capable of curing any disease, which sounds noble until you understand its true psychological foundation. You want to become powerful enough that you'll never accidentally kill someone you love again. Every patient you can't save becomes evidence that you're still not good enough, still the ignorant reindeer who poisoned his father. The weight of this impossible standard grows heavier with each new illness you encounter, every injury you can't fully heal, every reminder that medical knowledge has limits. You've set yourself a goal that would require multiple lifetimes to achieve, because anything less than absolute mastery might mean losing someone else. But here's the daily reality of your existence. You're a teenager, carrying the medical fate of future legends, slowly poisoning yourself with experimental drugs to stay useful in combat, pursuing an impossible dream born from guilt, all while the world refuses to acknowledge your accomplishments. Your character represents the series' central theme about the meaninglessness of labels. You're living proof that monster and human are arbitrary classifications. Your most monstrous form protects your most human relationships, while your greatest medical insights come from the compassion you learned as an outcast. Every day you prove that the thing people want to destroy might be the thing that saves them. You've transformed your greatest weakness, being a freak, into your greatest strength, being irreplaceable. The little reindeer with the blue nose who belonged nowhere has found his place by making himself essential everywhere. You turn your pain into protection, your trauma into triumph, your monstrous appearance into salvation. Your life demonstrates that trauma doesn't define your future, but it'll always influence your path. The guilt that nearly destroyed you became the drive that makes you extraordinary. The medicine that killed Hirlock taught you the precision that saves everyone else. You're the doctor not just because you can treat injuries, but because you've diagnosed the deepest wound in the world. The belief that different means worthless, and you're healing it one saved life at a time. Not bad for a kid who started life as a blue-nosed mistake. So after living through all of that as Chopper, do you still think being the cute mascot is easy? Could you handle carrying the guilt of accidentally murdering your father while still having the courage to heal others every single day? And honestly, would you be strong enough to keep believing there's no such thing as an incurable disease after creating the most personal one yourself? Think about it. Could you spend your life saving people while knowing that your love once became literal poison? Could you transform into the monster everyone called you and use that form to protect the people who chose to see you as family? Let me know in the comments down below. What was the most heartbreaking part of Chopper's journey in your opinion? The accidental murder that drives his medical dreams? Or the world refusing to see his genius because of how he looks? Do you think his incredible achievements make up for the trauma he carries? Or does that guilt make every success even more meaningful? And here's the real question. If you had to choose between being accepted but powerless, or being misunderstood monster who saves lives, which would you choose? If this deep dive into the doctor's hidden pain opened your eyes to the psychological weight our cute mascot carries every day, smash that like button and let me know which Straw Hat trauma we should diagnose next. Subscribe for more breakdowns that reveal the darkness behind your favorite characters. And hit that bell so you don't miss when we explore the brutal reality of being Brooke or Robin's childhood hell. Until then, keep healing the world one act of kindness at a time. And remember that even the biggest monsters can become the greatest miracles when they choose love over revenge.